So we're leaving Weymouth Harbour. We're going to head out about 15 miles out to sea today to a big reef. We're going to try and catch some sea bass. With me today is my father Tim. We've been fishing together for some 20 years now. It's a partnership which works great. It was Dad who got me into fishing. On my days off from school and weekends, we used to go down to the River Thames, catching minnows and sticklebacks. I was 7 years old when my parents moved to Dorset, and that's when I discovered my passion for sea fishing. I remember Dad buying a dinghy, and we used to fish in Portland Harbour, and that's where I developed my taste for catching bass. I remember my first bass clearly. I spent all my weekends and school holidays fishing. I just absolutely loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. When I left college, I went into catering, but it was the fishing that I wanted to do. So I decided to jack in a proper job and turn my hobby into a career. One of the things I enjoy most about the fishing, and it's certainly challenging at times, is finding the fish. Some days we literally leave the harbour and it's a flick of a coin as to what direction we go. Today we're bass fishing over a big reef. So what we do is we drive the boat up tide of the reef, then we drift down with the current over the top of the reef and for about 100 yards behind it.
I don't think that water clarity is doing any favours.
No, definitely not. Once we've done that, we wind up, drive the boat back up tide again and drift back over.
Come on, let's have a big one.
Come on, fishy, fishy, fishies. Fish on.
Bingo.
You've got to torch them nicely.
Yeah. And that's the one we wanted. Kindest way to put them out of their misery.
The welfare of our fish is really important to us. From the moment they come on board, we dispatch them quickly and they're put straight onto crushed ice. We've gained a really, really high reputation for the quality of our fish. We often get select restaurants phone us, asking us when we're going to land next.
Fish on.
Fishing like that is a really exciting way of fishing. We're constantly start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Often, never a chance for even a cup of coffee. What a great start to the day. Several years ago, there were no restrictions on the quantity of bass that us bass boats could land. Weymouth had the largest commercial rod and line bass fishery in the UK, with some 20 to 25 full-time boats. And for many youngsters, it was their footstep into the fishing industry. An annual quota system was introduced, and just 12 months later, that annual quota was reduced by 50%. These restrictions have come on ever so quickly, and they've had a really dramatic effect on livelihoods in the bass fishing industry. This year, I've had no choice other than to lay off some of my crew, and so have my friends as well, and so have many of my colleagues. In fact, it's hit the industry so hard, many fishermen have had to sell up. Some people might think with the quota I've got today, it's more than enough. But when you factor in the cost of bait, fuel, fishing tackle and other supplies, there really isn't a lot left over to give crew a living wage now. In order to make this work, it's just Dad and I who fish now. Very occasionally we have crew. At the end of the day, the quotas are there for a reason, and that's to preserve fish stocks. This is a sustainable way of fishing purely because of the fact there's no bycatch whatsoever. We're targeting a species. Sometimes we catch a different fish. It might be a cod or a pollock or a mackerel, but they're welcome fish. We don't drag the CPF with the nets, so we don't damage the environment. Any small ones we catch get to go back and fight another day. Like this fish here I have now, I think this is a small one, so there's a good chance he'll be swimming back.
There's a tiddler.
According to regulations, any fish under 42 centimetres have to go back.
Well, there's the big boys today. This one will definitely be going back. He'll go back as quick as you like. Osh, gone.
It's great for the stocks, and in my opinion, this should have been done a long time ago. We actually gauge our fish at 43 centimetres. I think that extra 10 millimetres is good for the fish. It really does guarantee them at least 1 or 2 seasons spawning.
It's nice to see these fish because it's doing what the scientists wanted to do.
From the end of January to the 1st of April, there is a closed season for bass fishing. This gives them a chance to spawn, and I totally support this. The science really is unknown. In fact, a few years ago, I caught a bass which had an electronic tag in it, And in just 2 years, this fish had travelled several thousands of miles from the French coast to the South Irish Sea, then back up through the English Channel, where I caught it off the Isle of Wight. Just because the fish aren't in one place, it doesn't mean to say they're not there at all. They're constantly moving.
Nothing on the jigs.
I support the research, of course I do, but it's us bass guys that are becoming a rare species now. Since the new quotas have come in for bass and the uncertainty that goes with it, I'm really fortunate I've got a good catering background and I'm able to do something extra to the fish that I catch. Otherwise, I just don't think I'd survive. I'm a chef by training, and probably around 10 years ago I started selling my fish at locals farmers markets. Things progressed and I started doing bigger fairs, and then I thought, do you know what, I can make something better of this, so I started cooking my fish at the festivals. A few years ago I done my first seafood festival down at the Pomeroy Dorset Seafood Festival down here in Weymouth. It's my favourite festival, it's on my doorstep. Today we're going to use some of the bass and the pollock that we caught. We're going to turn them into Thai-style fish cakes. It's an original recipe of mine. Dad, if you can dice that up, please. And while you're doing that, I'm going to add some coriander, which I'm just roughly chopping. Again, some garlic, just roughly chopped. I'm going to grate some fresh ginger, a good squeeze of lime juice. We're going to add this to the diced fish, along with some green curry paste. Some fish sauce. Okay, Dad, if you can mix that, please.
Certainly.
It's the protein in the fish that holds it all together nicely. No eggs, no potatoes, no breadcrumbs. Just 100% sustainably caught, line-caught fish. At the festival here, it's fantastic. So many of my fellow fishermen are selling their produce direct to the customer. It's really great to see. Amongst my favourites are Dorset shellfish, they're crab and lobster fishermen, and the Crab House Cafe down at Portland. Got a really good stand and a great team working for me. With me, I've got my father working, my wife Jess, who coincidentally grows all the coriander I use in her own garden. And I've got Tom and Sean, both part-time crew members for me on the Wahoo.
It's a nice option for a barbecue. If you get a bit, this time of the year when we've had so much sun, you get a bit bored of sausages and burgers and you want something a bit different.
We just use a pastry cutter to not bet letters or dinosaurs, whatever takes your fancy.
I haven't got children, I'm not going to bother. They're all grown up.
I get to see lots of people that I regularly see, some great customers, friendly faces. I just love it here.
It is really yummy, really good. It is just really fresh.
The last 4 years running here, I've won a sustainability award. Last year I won silver, the year before was bronze. Since the introduction of the quotas, I've really had to rethink about making this business work. So I started a small business called From Shore to Door, where literally, once we land the fish, we sell it direct to the public and our friends. My wife Jess does everything social media for me. I'm absolutely illiterate with a computer. She's brilliant. Without her, I'd be completely lost. With From Shore to Door, at the end of every day, we list our catch on social media, specifically Facebook. That way, people can message us directly and we can deliver fish to them to the door on our way home. One of the good things about fishing is we get to eat our catch. We're going to do some pan-fried bass fillets, Cajun blackened, and I'm doing a small salsa verde. In the other pan, we've got some potato wedges, posh fish and chips.
Just a little bit better than a cheese and pickle sandwich. I think someone in London is going to be paying about 40 quid for this. A life at sea is a fantastic semi-retirement for me.
When I think about the future of my fishing, it's worrying, especially for the under 10 metre boats. I just hope I can keep doing the two things that I love, cooking and catching fish, but one relies on the other. Let's just hope us fishermen are allowed to keep catching the bass.